Hello and welcome to Shatter Gaming, where we discuss all things board games, from playthroughs to reviews, and the occasional unboxing or overview. If you like these videos, then please do subscribe. It does help the channel a lot. Comment, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about The Dark Quarter, which is a game for 1 to 4 players by Ryder and Lucky Duck Games. The Dark Quarter will see players take on the role of investigators in an alternate 1980s where magic and mysticism is real. This game combines the mature and dark storytelling Ryder Games has shown themselves capable of, along with app integration to drive the game forward, as seen in many Lucky Duck games, particularly the game Destinies, which this game shares a lot in common with. The story centres around murder and the dark arts, and will have you travelling around the neo-noir-soaked streets of New Orleans, searching for clues and questioning suspects. You will visit a variety of locations depicted on these cards, interact with points of interest and these NPC tokens. The app instructs you where to place tokens, which location cards to reveal, along with any narrative text. It will then instruct you of any skill checks to take, and award you with item cards and experience based on the test outcome. Skill checks are performed by rolling these 2 large dice and up to 3 of these smaller effort dice. Each investigator has a track on their player board for each of the 4 attributes in the game. Along these tracks, you will place cubes on the numbers specified by the app at the start of the campaign. So this character has a cube on the charisma track at 5, 7 and 10. This means when you do a charisma check, you roll those 2 large dice and any effort dice you have available to spend and wish to spend. Some of the faces have special icons that will affect the total based on character abilities, but otherwise you are basically just counting pips. Let's just assume the total roll for this skill check is 9. In this instance, you would look at space 9 on the charisma track for your character. Each cube to the left of that space would score 1 success for the test. So in this case, the cube on space 5 and 7 would score 2 successes on the test. And that's basically it for the gameplay. The truth is, it's hard to even call The Dark Quarter a board game. The only parts of this game you actually need is the dice, player boards, and the item decks. The location cards and NPC and point of interest tokens are completely unnecessary to play the game. Everything else is displayed in the app. The app even tells you when your turn ends, rather than having a defined set of actions like most games of this type. Moving around the map board is completely abstract, as on your turn you can move to any reveal location you like, then any point of interest or NPC. Click the app and it tells you everything you need to know. This game is about 95% app, maybe even more. And so, how can I really call this a board game? The Dark Quarter is more like a video game with those deluxe add-ons, where you get a nice map and a 6-inch statue of the main character. The difference is, with the Dark Quarter, that deluxe edition is mandatory to play the game. It really does feel like a mobile game with extra steps. But that doesn't make the game bad. It's actually a really good story-driven narrative that uses simple but effective resource management systems for skill checks. There's also some really cool uses of the app, such as being able to scan QR codes printed on equipment cards in certain circumstances that allow you to progress the story in new and unexpected ways. This is probably the most difficult game I've ever reviewed, because it's so unusual in its design, and so I really can't say much more about the mechanics. If you've played Destinies, you'll have a good idea of what I mean, but even Destinies felt more like a board game, with the components being more necessary to the game than the Dark Quarter. And so, with all that said, all there is left to do is look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. If you like a dark horror-based story that isn't afraid to swear and cover dark topics, then the game has a great in-depth story filled with as many twists and turns as it has blood and guts. It is, by its very design, the strongest selling point of the game. To be honest, maybe the only selling point of the game. The skill check system is also a very good system. Managing your effort dice to stack the odds in your favour at a critical moment is both tense and challenging, and the way the app will instruct you to both up and downgrade your attributes depending on the outcome of the checks you perform just adds even more to this system. The bad. Honestly, I'm not sure whether to say everything else or nothing else. It's not really fair to call the app-based aspects of the game bad, as they work extremely well. But playing this game does not leave you feeling like you have played a board game, which I suppose is perhaps the most damning thing that could be said about a board game. But then this is kind of like saying this movie is an absolute failure at even being a movie, whilst holding up a paperback first edition of War and Peace. I can't truly consider this a proper board game, and so it's kind of up to you to decide whether this stuff is bad or not, which I suppose means everything I have just said about the bad could just as well be part of the ugly. Since everything in the previous section could fit right in here, there's not much else to say. It is worth mentioning though, that this game can be a bit gratuitous with its violence and its mature content, so it might not be to everyone's taste. Other than that, I really don't have much else to say. So, in what is no doubt the shortest review I have ever done, what do I think of The Dark Quarter? Like everything else in this review, it's difficult to say really. It is certainly not boring at all from a story perspective, but it is mind-numbingly boring to set up those board pieces and tokens that you know are completely superfluous to the game. I suppose I could only recommend this game if you are really curious about the story and gritty theme. But if the story isn't to your taste, then I would honestly say that this game isn't worth the effort it takes to play. Well, that's it for this very short review. As you can tell, I just didn't have much to say about this one. It's not that it's bad, it's just, do you want to play a storybook with a few extra steps? That's for you to decide. But while you're doing that, why not subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, leave a like, and if you really like this content, you can support the channel by becoming a channel member. And that's all I have to say for this, so I will see you in the next one. Bye.